These calluses, the ones you get from bicycle grips, what are you actually supposed to do with them? This is my embarrassing question because for years I've managed them quite well with tools you'd find in the workshop. Side cutters, sandpaper. Should I just leave them? Am I damaging my hand? It turns out you're not supposed to snip them with side cutters and you don't really need to do anything. The calluses protect your hand and you only need to worry about them if they start to get uncomfortable because they've grown too big. Apparently they make stuff for this, like a callus file or a pumice stone. Who knew? It's kind of embarrassing, but I didn't know any of that until I posed the question and looked it up. Next question, is my seat supposed to hurt me so bad? People who just started riding will be like, my legs are fine, but I'm still recovering from that ride we took 4 days ago. My taint is killing me. First of all, bike seats are something you do get used to. Your taint solidifies like JB Weld after you've been doing this for a while. But if you just started, I know it tends to hurt. If you've been doing more than just riding around town, proper clothing may help. Padded shorts make a huge difference, and you can wear those under your normal shorts so you blend in. Even experienced cyclists do get sore when they ride a lot, so chamois cream can help. Yes, that is how chamois is spelled. But what a lot of people don't mention is that improper bike setup and technique has a lot to do with it. If your seat is too low, more of your weight will be on it, and besides your knees and legs hurting, you'll get more sore down there. If your seat is too high, you will experience similar discomfort and probably chafing. And if your seat is at the perfect height, you should still be distributing your weight between your pedals, your handlebars, and your saddle to lighten the load on all three. Next one, do I really need to lube my chain every ride? Who told you that? No, actually lubing your chain every ride in practice would probably be bad unless you're riding like 100 miles a day. Lube your chain when you need to. For most people, this is gonna be after like 6 to 8 rides, but for some it's gonna be a lot more often, especially if you're washing your bike a lot. If you hear squeaking, that's a good indication that you need to lube your chain. You can also just look at it. If it looks dry, if you run your finger across it and nothing comes off, probably need some chain oil. But just adding more chain oil each ride without cleaning it is actually worse than not doing anything at all, because you're effectively wet sanding your drivetrain, because as dirt sticks to it, it just keeps grinding into everything as you pedal. So you don't want to lube too much and you don't want to lube too little. You want to observe it and use common sense. Here's another bike seat one. Can sitting on a bike seat for too long cause infertility? So in other words, is all that pressure down there gonna make it impossible to have kids? Well, according to pretty thorough research, no. That's very unlikely, but they did find a link to lower sperm count temporarily, and then after 30 days you kind of recover if you've been doing a lot of intensive cycling. But with mountain biking, you're kind of standing up off the saddle and then sitting down. There's not as much wear and tear, so to speak, as road cycling or gravel. And so if you're an avid mountain biker, I honestly think the fitness is going to outweigh any negative consequences in that area, and so I wouldn't worry much about it. I hear this one a lot. What's the proper etiquette if somebody else is coming down a narrow trail? Who stops? Well, we've talked about this before, and the rules are pretty clear. Bikes yield to hikers, bikes also yield to horseback riders, and when two bikes are approaching each other, the downhill rider will yield to the uphill rider, because if the uphill rider stops climbing, it's sometimes really hard to get started again. But in practice, this isn't always what people do, and that's okay. If I'm climbing in a trail system that I know well, and there's a steep downhill section that I know people like to cruise down, I'll be keeping an eye out, because it can be dangerous to stop short when you're going downhill. And so I'll typically stop climbing, make it completely obvious that I'm off trail, and let the descenders keep their momentum up. But it's gonna be up to me as the climber, and if you're descending, it's gonna be up to the climber as well. And so if you see them, you gotta stop unless it's completely obvious that they're letting you through. There are also mountain bike trails that are explicitly labeled as downhill directional, and so you shouldn't be encountering anyone in the other direction. If you do, either they don't know what's going on or you don't know what's going on, and you should probably stop. But if you're unsure, just stick to the rules and yield to hikers, horseback riders, and climbing cyclists. And as an additional tip, dismount when you see a horse. Equestrians will usually appreciate that, and actually, I normally have very pleasant encounters with horseback riders. Here's Here's another one I get a lot. What side of the trail should I stop on? And the answer is wherever it's safe. If you're on a bench cut, which is a trail that's cut out of a mountain, you'll typically stand on the lower side, but sometimes that's not safe or practical. There's no rigid etiquette on this. You stop where you're out of the way and preferably not trampling untouched vegetation. Now this next question is also somewhat related. How do I start pedaling on a steep hill? Like that one. Well, first of all, if you lose your momentum and get hung up in a weird spot, you might want to take a moment to hike to a spot you can start on. Sometimes this is no more than a few steps away. This is indeed the best solution if you're really hung up. Now you also want to be in the lowest gear. Lift your bike and get prepared. You need to pedal it to shift gears. I like to start with my dominant foot in the 10 o'clock position so I can push down and get a little boost. Grab your rear brake to keep yourself planted, place a foot on the pedal, stand on that pedal, and release the brake. You got this. This next question is really a sign of the times. What's the dropper post for? When should I use it? I dreamt of this day, a day where so many bikes come with dropper seat posts, we take them for granted. Some people have them and they don't even know what they're for. And that's nothing to be embarrassed about. I'm happy to explain it. If you're pedaling or especially climbing, your dropper post is likely going to be all the way up. If that's not high enough, you can actually adjust it at the collar too. The raised position should be at a comfortable pedaling height. Now, as you can see, with it all the way up, I can sort of get into an attack position with the pedals level. But when the seat post is dropped, I can get my center of gravity way lower down, which increases stability. If you're on a long downhill, you should drop your seat post. Pointing down a steep descent when you're way up there is going to make you go over the handlebars. Now, sometimes you're in a section where you have to be pedaling, but there are lots of obstacles where you need to stand up and move your bike around to get over them. In that case, you may want to just drop it slightly so that you can still get away with pedaling, but you also have a bit of space. Similarly, if you're about to hit a jump, drop your seat post. The last thing you want to do is hit a steep landing all the way up there, ready to go over the handlebars. So your dropper post up is going to be perfect for pedaling. Dropper post down is perfect for maneuvering. Next question, what is rebound and what does it do? Your suspension fork might have that setting, and if you have a rear shock, you probably also have that setting. Sometimes referred to as rebound for short, this controls rebound damping. Think of your fork or shock like a spring. It's gonna spring back when you compress it. Rebound damping keeps it from springing back too fast. Almost always, tightening the knob makes it return slower. Loosening it or opening it makes it return faster. If your rebound damping is too fast, your bike is going to feel bouncy, which can negatively affect handling. If your rebound damping is too slow, your suspension can pack up. In other words, through repeated hits, it'll keep compressing lower and lower and feel harsher and harsher. Oftentimes, based on your body weight, you can look up the recommended settings for your particular shock or fork and get a good starting point, but that's just a guide. Now that you know what it actually does, you can adjust it as needed. And as an added tip, if you're hitting jumps on a full suspension bike, fast rebound in the rear can cause you to nosedive and go over the handlebar, so you definitely want a little damping there. Next one. How do I know if a trail is e-bike legal? Well, sometimes it'll say that on the sign, but by then you took your e-bike out into the forest and it's kind of too late. Apps like Trail Forks will usually state on a given trail or trail system whether e-bikes are allowed. Another good resource is Google. Just search whether a trail system is e-bike legal or not, and then it'll give you an answer with a link as a citation. Click on the citation, and if it checks out as a valid resource, like the website for the trail system, then you have your answer. Should I wear underwear under my padded shorts? No, the padded shorts are your underwear and they're meant to be worn as such. Wearing underwear under your padded shorts is probably bad and will cause irritation or chafing. Do I need a torque wrench to install my through axle? You may notice, especially on bolt-on through axles, the torque is printed on it. Does that mean you need to use a torque wrench to install it? And in the rear, these new SRAM transmission drivetrains are supposedly really picky about torque. So what do you do? Well, the truth is that almost nobody uses a torque wrench to install their through axle. Don't tighten it like a gorilla, but make sure you're giving it a good firm crank. As for these transmission through axles, I personally haven't had many issues tightening them by hand. Just tighten it with reasonable force, and then if you get some shifting issues, tighten it a little bit more and see if it goes away. Now, if you get the opportunity to try someone else's torque wrench, it can give you a baseline feel for what, let's say, 6 Newton meters feels like. If the number is higher, tighten it more. If the number is lower, tighten it less. Here's a good one. What even are clipless pedals? I've answered this so many times and I never get sick of it. A clipless pedal is the type of pedal that you clip into. Calling it a clipless pedal is kind of like calling your car a horseless buggy. The context is ancient. Cyclists used to use toe clips and straps to fasten their feet to their pedals. So when these pedals came out, hey, they're clipless. So that's what they are. They're pedals without toe clips, which is pretty much any type of pedal that you clip into. Now, whether you should go with flat pedals or clipless pedals is a question for which there is no quick answer, but there are thousands of videos about it. Next one, when should I shift gears? The question is when should I shift gears, not why. Most people do understand that you use a lower gear to climb and a higher gear to go faster, basically. But when do you do it? Well, you do it before you need to. If you're rolling down the trail and you know in a moment you're hitting a punchy climb, shift gears while you still can. Even if you have one of these fancy drivetrains that let you shift gears under a load, in my experience, you're still better off getting ahead of things. Shifting is best done when you're soft pedaling, or else you're gonna hear a bunch of clunking sounds back there and you could even snap a chain. And so shifting gears correctly is almost always gonna come down to timing and planning, so you can do it right before you need to. The next one, how do I know if my tire pressure is too low? If you're asking this question, I assume you're looking for a quick way to know. Of course, there's a such thing as a pressure gauge, and the minimum recommended pressure is printed on your tire. But in general, you don't want a whole bunch of lateral movement on your tire. That's what causes the biggest problems. If you can stand on your pedal and push the bike to the side and see the tire squirming under the rim, that's gonna cause some problems.
Really?
You shouldn't even be getting close to that happening. It's probably gonna cause damage to your rim, and it might even cause a crash. If your tire's inflated enough and you push down on the pedal, it's probably gonna look something like this. And if you've ever gotten a flat tire while riding and you hear it hissing out, you know that it starts squirming before going completely flat. If your spidey sense is calibrated to that exact sensation, well, that's what it feels like when your tire's way too low. Remember, there's no such thing as a stupid question. I hope you learned something today, and if you didn't, then maybe you can share this with a friend who could. Thanks for riding with me today, and I'll see you next time.